Amazon Johnny Lee Part 2 The Wreck of the Tiger's Tooth. By W.M. Cuppernell, the Milky Way is comforting, some say, as is the North Star. The Southern Cross guides many who are lost and reminds them where they are. So many stories predate of a man that met his fate in the Amazon next to me. This is another tale of Amazon Johnny Lee, sitting in the back of the crowd, quiet, not loud, gathering his lump fare. Amazon Johnny Lee sat in the back, with his backpack as if he was not there. His tall frame commanded attention, all remembered with retention as he rose and walked up to the ticket booth and secured passage for South America, aboard the boat called the Tiger's Tooth. Leaving Portobello, heading down to Brazil, stories and legends go around and abound that contest the strongest will. Danger is about, few had any doubt, amongst the cliffs and islands that mark the way. Ghosts of pirates of old who still guard their gold still haunt to this very day. Some passengers ignored and even seemed bored of the dangers that could await. Most were fixated and not intimidated, focused on not arriving late. As the journey did begin, unsure how it would end, heading to where the river meets the sea. But amongst the inexperienced crew and the passengers too, the one man smiling was Amazon Johnny Lee. Johnny was a survivor, a scuba diver, a master of jungle life. A man who could build you anything just from wood and his trusted knife. He had just come from visiting home after years of roam traveling ceaselessly. On the Amazon River, if you're ever in a bind, Amazon Johnny Lee you could always find. And help he would always deliver. However, nobody knew, or had a clue, of this tall man with a jungle hat. He did not engage or take center stage. He was content being just where he sat. The sun beat down, hot and humid. Storm clouds gathered without warning. The crew looked worried. Through the night, red skies shined in the morning. The waves did start to crash. As the lightning flashed, all aboard gathered inside. But, in the small vessel, no one could comfortably nestle. There was nowhere to hide. Through a fog-like mist, as the boat did list, an island came into view. Then the gale-force winds kicked in and became a trend. There was nothing the captain and crew could do. Then came a sight. In the dead of the night, the traveler's situation was grave. Then water washed over the top. The Tiger's Tooth was hit by a rogue wave. Coming apart at the seams, turning over like a bad dream, all were propelled into the sea. The only one who did not panic or act frantic was Amazon Johnny Lee. 25 were now in the water, including a man and his daughter. There was only one life raft to save them all. Those that could not swim, hopes were dim, all shouted the desperate call. But all thanked the heavens that day, all the survivors say that among them was a hero. And if it wasn't for he, Amazon Johnny Lee, the chance of living would have been zero. Coming from deep, telling them all not to weep, grabbing onto a woman and child. With a gentle voice, as was always his choice, saying, "Hold on to me," loud but mild. An island was just offshore. About a mile or more, Johnny realized it could serve as refuge from the wreck. Mountains could be made out, a few sailors did shout, to there the three did trek. He reached the land, placing them safely on the sand, yet his courage did not come to an end. Diving back into the rough waves in an urge to save, Johnny headed into the water again. The raft was in trouble. Sharks now made it double, circling around the recent shipwreck, darting up and down, causing all to frown, looking like little black specks. For those who struggled to stay afloat, their position was remote. Helpless in the high waves, they were all sure for all they'd endure, nobody would come to save. Making a thrashing sound, all faced a watery grave. More survivors made it to shore as Johnny fought off 2 more sharks who did not get the word. Grabbing one by the fin that swam past him, a heroism seldom had heard. The sharks then had enough, for Johnny was clearly too tough. They started to swim away. Messing with the wrong man, they began to understand. The sharks fled for their lives, the survivors say. Bringing 3 more to land, 2 in one hand, only the lifeboat had not reached the beach. He was surely tired, but never retired. A bravery all schools should teach. Swimming up fast, a rope was cast, he grabbed it and held on. To the surprise of all, Johnny did not heed the call to come up to the craft. As he placed the rope in his mouth and faced south, all aboard gave a loud gasp. He started to swim, then the tide came in and carried on with a forward sail. A man on a mission, not changing position, vowing never to fail. Getting to the island sand, as the last passenger reached land, finally the sun came through. The waves calmed down, only a cheering sound as Johnny was given his due. He saved 25, everyone survived, but all wondered that day. Would they have been shark bait and reached their fate without Amazon Johnny Lee in the shark's way? Catching another boat on a South American float, continuing on the very next day. Was the man from this story worthy of all the glory, determined to be on his way? Amazon, the story continues on. A smile that shines in the darkest night, a man that would continue on from dusk to dawn and never give up the fight. The Milky Way is comforting, some say, as is the Northern Star, the Southern Cross, guides many who are lost and reminds them where they are. So many stories predate of a man who met his fate. In the Amazon next to me, this man was the best at surviving any test, a man called Amazon Johnny Lee. The end.